buildings destroyed, that with reconstruction or something. And those people, those buildings as addresses was in the list. And when they telling the police that, take out these names, he says, no, we can't take out because the people who were living there, they haven't applied us to be removed. Well, there are so many nonsenses. I mean, even if you run those programs and you go to the police, Ministry of Police or whatever, they say, we can't accept your offers. What's the result?
Good question. There is, in fact, there is a provision in the law that unless someone applies to be removed from voter lists, the police cannot. I cannot go on, as a third party and say, remove these people from the list. But what I can do, an Armenian citizen can do, an organization can do, can actually file an affidavit saying these are incorrect legal documents, right? And there can be an injunction on those voters, when they show up at the polling location with that address, not being able to, preventing them from voting because of that injunction, okay? So there are ways of doing this. You may not be able to, at that moment, permanently remove them from the list, but you can make the police, national police aware of it. An affidavit can be filed, and it's provided to the polling location, and they are then obliged to follow the rules. So if at the end of the elections, you go back and you see any of those names voting or signed against in the voter rolls, then something illegal occurred, then you can actually sue for a recount of that precinct, right? So it's a very methodical legal process. Yes, sir.
Isn't there an effort to have the voter list published after the election? Have you participated in it?
Now you're talking to me. This has been one of the big issues. So thank you for reminding me. In the United States, voter lists, let me take one step back. There's this concept in international world of elections called voter secrecy or voter confidentiality, right? Just as in the United States, it's not kosher, and in some cases, in some states, it's actually illegal for anyone to ask you who you voted for, particularly election officials, right? And no one can actually publish who you voted for, right? Yeah, but that's the thing. So you can ask outside of a polling location who you voted for, right? Or who you would vote for, but not actually who you voted for, right? In Armenia, based on European tradition, because that's where, most of Armenia's systems and legislative frameworks are geared towards a European framework, or based on a European framework. In Europe, the very fact of a voter voting in most countries is a secret, okay? So voter lists, a simple list of citizens and their signatures, right, indicating that they voted, is illegal to be published or to be displayed publicly, right? Now, one of the things we had been working on for a very long time was to actually reverse that in Armenia's election law, right? Saying there's nothing, that compromises the secrecy of the vote or voter confidentiality if you simply publish the votes, the voter names and their signatures, showing that these were the voters who voted. Prosperous Armenia went to court, to the Constitutional Court, which is the equivalent of the Supreme Court, and argued that it should be allowed to see voter rolls after the elections. The Constitutional Court rejected the claim, but left an opening. It said that on a case-by-case basis, if Prosperous Armenia wanted to sue on a district level or on a precinct level, they could actually go to a lower court and ask for those lists to be published. Now, to be very honest, I haven't been in Armenia in the last 10 days. I don't know if that has occurred. But it is something that should be practiced and used and utilized very frequently and very aggressively, because that's one of the only ways where we can actually see who voted and whether they were actually in country at that time, right? Should they have been voting, right? All of these questions can be answered in that way, okay? Yes.
There's a mixed bag in that kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
Here in America, you have eligible voters lists available for both parties, or for the public. I've never heard of this concept of releasing lists indicating that the person or party did vote or did not vote. I mean, that's nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if a person walks into a voting booth and pulls the lever and then unpulls it, that's his business.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I can't see a drive to get eligible voters with signatures. I can see a drive to get eligible voting lists so I could pursue the people to encourage them to vote for my candidate.
Right. Those are available. For the first time this election cycle, all the registered voters, the list of all registered voters were actually made available electronically, and they were available for download about 40 days before elections. So people could, organizations and people could actually download them and use them.
And that matched that 2.1 million eligible voters. That's how that number came about. I'm trying to figure out, there's only 2 million people left there in Pakistan, and 30% of them have to be ineligible because of age, okay? Forget about sound mind and all that stuff. So I can't come up with 2.1 million.
That's why, did you see I had put parenthetically officially next to that number?
Everything that's there is official to me. Okay?
I cannot speak on unofficial numbers because I don't have them. I don't know what they are. But sure. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, that's a big question. That's why I'm saying there is an estimated discrepancy of up to 300,000 names on the voter lists. Now, officially, Armenia still has 2.7 million, 2.8 million inhabitants, but it just occurred actually about a year ago. We don't have the final numbers, but that's right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
The fact that the police seems to have a lot to do with the election process, is that a European tradition, and would it be beneficial if the two were separated? And because police, to me, has a lot of power and intimidation involved with it, and
Sure.
it seems like not a good thing to mix it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question. And it is actually something that is very common in European countries, particularly in countries where they have national police. In the United States, we have municipal level police or county level police, law enforcement. In small countries like Armenia and in most European countries, they have a national police force, and that's who controls the roles. In Armenia, there is a drive to actually pull that out of the purview of the police and put it under an administrative agency. But that's been an ongoing conversation for a while now. But the other issue with that is because it is so, the voter lists are based on passport lists, and passports are run by the police. There's a separate effort now in Armenia to actually introduce biometric ID cards so that you don't need to use your passport to identify yourself inside the country. Passports simply become a document for international identification and travel. So that's something that's